ouchie. Sometimes these sliding doors of any make and model could become completely dysfunctional and stop sliding, and they become an exercise equipment, and you're doing bench pressing or whatever with them to move the doors out of the way. When that happens, it's time to change the rollers under the doors. In this video I show you what's involved here. Tools, parts, everything you need to know. So why the wheels? In this case, this is a tandem wheel. Usually have two of them. They could be single wheels as well. They need to be rated for the weight of the door on which they are installed. So if this is a thin gauged Mickey Mouse piece of garbage, then it's gonna fail over time. So your replacement wheels need to be considering the weight of the product. Consideration number two is the length and width of it, how much space you have in the frame, what you can install into this space. So sometimes you're gonna have to reinstall the same piece of garbage out of the same package because you're stuck with a physical size of something, and you just know that in I don't know, a year and a half or whatever, a fixed amount of time, you're back in the same corner again. They will fail predictably. So that happens. So sometimes you just can't get anything better other than the garbage that failed in the first place. Oh well. So what's involved here is very, very straightforward. A couple of screws go into it, two screws go into it through the lower part of the frame here. You see how this door here completes. So two screws on this side as well, and we've got a spacer here and another spacer. That's how these have been working, like so, and all of this goes into this space with two screws in the top of the unit and two screws from the side, which is from this direction. Yeah, all of these screws need very, very simple, just a couple of screwdrivers, whatever, a couple of sizes, and you do need a partner to work with because the door is 150 pounds. So to put it on the bench and work on it, you need another person's help. So I'm gonna change the wheels, put the new ones in with the same spacer and that spacer, and then two screws from the top, and then on this one, this screw was through the frame, something like that. I'm gonna put it back together the same way, and we'll show you how this works with this rubber that's wrapping the glass. I took apart one of the tandem wheels to show you a couple of things. So the housing is fairly thin gauge sheet metal, and that's a problem because that's got bent and mangled in the other one. The second thing is that the rollers with this profile that goes on the rail, yes, they have a ball bearing pressed in place. Now this one failed catastrophically, obviously. The outer raceway is still in the wheel, as the inner raceway split in half and ball bearings. So if the wheel has play like this one there, this one, that's catastrophically failed bearing. You can see how much it moves side to side. They could also be just seized. The bearings are sealed for life, so when they are new, they roll fairly easily, and that's how they look like. You can see that they have a metal pressed in seal on the outside, so you can't see any of the bearing balls, whatever, but they are sealed for life. There really isn't a whole lot that you can do about it in terms of lubrication. If you put lubricant on the track, on the ground on which these roll, gonna be walking across with your shoes on the grease, so don't put grease on the track, on the ground. What needs to be lubricated is the bearings, but the bearings are lubricated and they are indeed sealed for life, and that's that. So if they start turning hardly, or if the whole thing gets mangled, yeah, it's time for new ones. And we're back to purchasing the parts. Is the new one any better than the old one? Well, in some cases they could be, but often into the same space, the same make and model needs to be fitted. Here's one supplier and the door rollers that they list. If I try to find the one with the largest load capacity, and this one doesn't mount in any which way that I need it to mount on the door, so not this one. Let's clear that one. Let's see the next choice here, 300 pounder. This is kind of similar to what I have, but it needs to mount from the top with 2 screws, not just one, so maybe not this one. Let's clear that one. Next one, I have no idea how many holes this has in its top. Let's see if we get more pictures. No, they only have one, and that's it. It doesn't have any kind of specs on it besides some variations come with a nylon roller, and it's only rated for 130 pounds, and it's got a 1.5-inch wheel. So this one is unconfirmed. Next one, 260 pounds. You see how it's going. It needs to have 2 holes on the bottom, sorry, on the top, so that's not good either. So eventually I ended up with this one. It has steel ball bearings and it's got steel wheels, and that's it. Does it say rated weight on it anywhere? No, but that's somehow how choices need to be made, trying to get the strongest that fits the space and mounts the same way with 2 bolt holes on the top. So installation of the new wheel starts here with a chisel, a well sharpened one. I cleaned up the dirt on the edge of the glass where this rubber goes, so it goes on easily, and I don't have to fight the dirt, or it's not binding to it or whatever, all the way to the corners. So my first spacer goes there, and the second one is mounted to this thing, and that's how they used to be. And man, you can come and get the screw in from the outside. Now both spacers lie flat in the frame and the wheel is centered. Looks good. Now, but one of these screws is only through the spacer. The second one is this one, through the frame and all the spacers. So there's nothing to place here because this screw only lines up with the end of this assembly there, and that's not catching anything. So what that's gonna end up resulting in is that this is gonna twist sideways. That's how the first one got twisted. So not enough screws in the wheel assembly means that it's gonna move like this in use, and that's probably how the other one got, the old one got mangled and twisted, because it does need 2 screws through this frame. Now I really want to stop this from moving sideways inside the door frame here, and I'm gonna drill a hole here exactly where I already started the hole, made that dimple in the metal right there, and I'm gonna bolt it to the spacer block. Just before drilling, I did my absolute best to line up the center line of these 2 wheels, or the edge of this wheel assembly, with the edges of the frame to make sure they are in line and they are parallel with each other. And I just drilled a tiny hole there. I'm gonna put in one screw. Yep, so far so good. And there it is. It's not going to interfere with the operation of the wheel because the spring bottoms out about here, and there's still enough gap between the wheel and the screw head so that this can still roll. So to prevent this pivoting or moving out of alignment, I got one screw from this side. I ended up putting one more screw in here, this long, through the spacer block, just to make sure the whole assembly doesn't move inside the frame. And of course the trim piece fits over the whole thing there, ready for installation. On this particular make and model, the shape of the underside of the trim lines up with the channel, and the flanges will be sliding into that space like so. And of course I cleaned the string piece there so that assembly is not any harder than it absolutely it needs to be. And that's how the final assembly looks like. The tandem wheel has been mounted to this part of the frame with this screw through the frame there, and out it comes through that threaded part of the tandem wheel. There is a second hole in the tandem wheel set thereabouts at my fingertip, but no bolt can be put through it because the frame here has been mangled out like so for whatever unknown reason. So that screw hole there, threaded screw hole, is not available. The last screw I have never said anything about is this screw, and what it does, I'm going to show you. When you shorten the screw like so, it's gonna change the height of the wheel like so. And if you lengthen the screw back, looks like the nut is gonna run away from it, but what it does actually is this: it moves this carriage further back away, and that sinks the carriage further into the door. So right now I'm gonna start at here at the lowest setting, so from the rail on the floor to the top of the door in that direction. I have here just the bare minimum amount of space that I need for the wheels to, for the door to be put in place and the wheels not catch on the rail or the carpet or anything else. And should I need to adjust the height of the door, I can do that with this long, I don't know, golden colored screw. Obviously, I'll show you again, this big, and it does this. Okay, so it's lifting the tandem wheel vertically up.